Okay, very good morning to all the participants. So this session will be conducted in English lah, but if you want to interrupt in Bahasa Melayu, by all means, please do so, yeah. So today I'm going to start our session by continuing on the Open Journal System, or in short form, we call it OJS. My name is Dr. Yong, so I'm the Head of Ethics and Publication Unit, RMC, Pejabat TNCPI. Slide seterusnya. Slide seterusnya. Okay, before I continue, a brief introduction about my unit. So the unit is Ethics and Publication Unit. So the name itself have already shown you that this unit have two responsibility. Number one is about research ethics, and the other one is publication. So here are the so-called management of the unit led by myself. So I'm the one who will going to hold the portfolio of publication. And for your information, I am handling just the publication performance and monitoring of UiTM journal. So for the books, that will be the purview of UiTM Press lah. Yeah. So I am assisted by a coordinator called Dr. Amira Abdul Rahman. So she is the secretary and also the coordinator who holds the portfolio for research ethics. So we have two roles in our unit under RMC. Slide seterusnya, Miza. So here are our supporting staff. So if you don't know who she is, so here's how it looks like, Miza. And our other staff is Norshida Ateme. She just joined us earlier this year. Whereas the other side of the slide, the one with a red frame, Adila, she is the EO for REC, the ethics side, and helped by two assistants, Raimi Naziha and also Ainul Fadilah. Slides ready. Okay. So the objective of this workshop is to show you the configuration and to demonstrate the overview on how to operate Open Journal System. Now in this slide, in my session, I'm going to address OJS as MyJMS. Reason because for my entire experience of using OJS, I have been using the one supplied by Pusat Citasi dan Infometrik, JPT, and they call it MyJMS. So don't be confused. After this, when I say MyJMS, that's actually the other name for OJS. Yeah. And the second objective is to demonstrate the deposition of metadata and PDF for articles from journal back issue, and also most importantly, the registration of DOI. I will elaborate later why it is so important. So now, before I continue, I just want to remind the participants lah. Now, I am very sure that quite a number of our participants today have already used OJET. So if you felt like you can contribute some new ideas, please by all means do so. So this is not just me telling you what to do. I'm also learning. So if you have any new things to share, please inform us right here. Yeah. Now, actually, this session is uh, primarily for the newcomers. So whoever that has no experience handling MyGMS or OJS, this session is for you, yeah? So this is just an introduction. Okay, now, the first thing is, why do we even need to use OJS? Now, OJS, in simpler terms, is actually a tool, yeah, a system for us to manage manuscript. Now, as an editor, we cannot run away from receiving many manuscripts. So that tool is to manage that. This is very similar to many major manuscript submission system, like for example, Clarivate, they have Web of Science, and also for journal management system, they have Scholar One. And then for Elsevier and also Springer, they have Editorial Manager and so on. So there are many, but why OJS? Because it is free. See, it is free. So many journals in the world, you can see, uses OJS because it is free and you have the freedom to alter, to update. and you can tweak according to your needs. So that's why OJS is so preferred. And there's another thing, there's another reason. Using OJS can actually get your journal visible. Now, if you haven't used an OJS before, or you just started, or you have just started, now perhaps you can use Google. Nowadays, who doesn't use Google? Everybody use Google to find something. Now, put yourself in the shoe of the authors. Let's say they want to publish a journal in their field. They're going to search the name of their field and also the journal that they possibly want to submit to. Now try yourself, Google your journal's name, yeah, find your name, find your journal's name in Google search and see where is the ranking of your journal. Can you find your journal on top of the search list? Yeah, do yourself a favor, you can search now. Now, while searching for your journal's name, if your journal is placed on top of the search list, congratulations, your journal is very visible. Now, you might be asking me why this is so important. Well, like I say again, if you want to submit a paper, you want to search a journal in that field, the first thing that's going to pop up will be most likely to be selected. Yeah. If I want to find something, something that I want to buy from internet and I search for it, if it pop up first, most likely I'm going to buy from that site. It's the same with journal. When authors want to submit paper, they're going to search. And sorry to say lah, usually the journals that are indexed in Scopus and Web of Science, they will usually going to pop up first. If you don't believe me, you can try yourself. Search any journal in the field similar to your journal. Usually those journals indexed in Scopus, Web of Science, or managed by Elsevier or Clarivate or Springer, those are the ones who are going to stick on top. There are many reasons for that. However, don't be sad because you're not managed by Elsevier or Clarivate. Because as long as you use OJS, you probably stand a chance and compete with them. Yeah. Because in this case, journal visibility can be increased if you use OJS. So that is the biggest reason why for the past 3 to 4 years, UEP RMC have been pushing UiTM journals to use OJS, particularly MyJMS, for this reason. Because we cannot afford to pay these big publishers for using their journal management system, but we can use the free ones and we still can get equally the benefit. Now, there's another thing that I would like to request from journal editors, participants, is that whenever you want to post in social media related to your journal, please use these two hashtags, yeah? UiTM journal and also hashtag be visible. These are the two hashtags that I've been using for the past 3 to 4 years, trying to promote UiTM journal. So now, visibility can be enhanced if we do it in group. So since we already have a big community right here, please use these two. Yeah, I believe some of you are already using it, so keep doing it, and by all means we can help ourselves. Yeah, increase the journal visibility. Okay, Lisa, slides. Okay, so a little bit of introduction of what is MyJMS, slide sebelum. Okay, MyJMS is abbreviation for a longer name, like call it Malaysian Journal Management System. So this one is developed by Pusat Citasi dan Infometrik. Essentially, the engine is OJS lah, journal system. So they are the same thing. If you call OJS, MyJMS, they are the same thing. Yeah. Okay, slide seterusnya. So why use OJS for journal? Like I said to you, if you use OJS, they increase your visibility. Now, for non-computer people like me, I only know about this thing, search engine optimization. Now, for those who don't know what is this one, this is actually something that you can do about the setup of your website in order to increase the likeliness of your website being discovered. Now, SEO refers to the process of increasing the visibility of a website, such as journal articles, and also within the search engine. Now, when a researcher does a search on Google that is relevant to your subject area, they will want to know whether the articles appear close to the top of research or the search list. And for one simple reason, your research articles, once it's published, you want it to be as discoverable as possible, because the more discoverable of your articles, the higher the likeliness it receives citation. So nowadays, citation is very crucial in order to determine the ranking of a researcher like yourself, as well as a journal. So we rely heavily on SEO to enhance the visibility of our articles as well as our journal. Yeah. Slide. So the principles of increasing SEO. How does SEO work? Yeah. So some of the best ways to ensure good SEO, and based on more general principles related to modern website and design. So how does it works? Now, whenever you search Google, that it will going to pop up all the results. Now, your question is, how does Google actually gather all this information? Now, Google actually have a lot of bots. Now, these call of algorithms, they are called crawlers. They will going to crawl in all the websites available online in the internet, and slowly they gather all those data in their database. So every time a user search Google, they will going to search against this database, and hence all the search list that pops up. So the easier your website being crawled by this crawler, the higher the chance of your website will going to be visible. So in this case, OJS or MyJMS has been optimized in terms of SEO. Now, believe it or not, if you have used MyJMS before, most of the text inside OJS or MyJMS, they are in HTML format. So the benefit of this is that it is very easy for crawler to discover the content. Yeah. So in this case, then, you can say like OJS have been optimized. So as long as you use it and you put as accurate as possible the information of your journal, then you just wait. I mean, OJS will do the job for you. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Now, the first thing is that now that you know MyJMS, then how are you going to access it? First thing first, visit the website of Pusat Citasi dan Infometrik. So they have a website over there, and you can actually click on this link. And for those who haven't visited website of Pusat Citasi Infometrik, you can go and find yourself. Inside there, there are many services that are provided, one of which is MyJMS. Yeah. So under that page, you can find the application, so apply for one. Yeah. So usually within 1 or 2 days, you'll get a reply from them. If you don't, always contact them through email. And they're more than happy to provide you one account, provided that you are a journal published in Malaysia. So they are open for all publishers in Malaysia. Yeah. So that includes our journal lah. And the best part is it is free of charge. You don't need to pay a single cent to them. It's provided for free. Yeah. So usually, the application will be required from the journal management. So usually, the application will be sent in by the chief editor or managing editor. So for managing editor, usually you'll be given an account, a user account as a journal editor, whereas chief editor, you're probably going to be assigned as journal manager. Now, both of these user will have the power to assign new journal teams inside MyJMS later on. Um, so yeah, this is as easy as it is. Just apply and they give it to you. That's written. Now, once you have the account, so here are the important journal settings that you need to know. Slides through here. Now, for any journals, identification is very, very important. Now, many journals in the world right now, there are many predatory journals. So, surprisingly, from my experience, the first time that I managed one journal, it got, say, hijacked, I would say. It got hijacked right away, where the journal's name exactly has been copied, but they use another acronym, they use another website. So they are trying to impersonate the journal that I just started manage. So the only thing that we use to distinguish ourselves from that so-called hacked journal or hijacked journal is the ISSN. So ISSN is in short form International Standard Serial Number. That is the IC number you can call, the identification for each journal. So ISSN is usually given to serial publication, not just journal. Sometimes you may even discover ISSN in uh, periodicals, in magazine, sometimes proceeding. Yeah, conference proceeding also may have ISSN. Yeah. And the other thing is digital object identifier. Now, for those who have already used DOI, you will discover that DOI is very, very important to increase article visibility. Not journal, but article visibility. And the other one, ORCID, in short form is, the name for ORCID is Open Research and Contributor ID. Now, for those who don't have ORCID, please get one for yourself. Because nowadays, any researcher without ORCID is not officially a researcher. Because ORCID is used widely nowadays to distinguish between genuine person, genuine researcher, and also a fake profile. Yeah, ORCID has been established to combat fake profile among researchers. So you have to have all these things. And for journal, ISSN, make sure you do it correctly in MyJMS. Yeah. So slides through here. Now, when you first log into MyGMS, this is what you see. Okay, so you're going to see the journal settings right away. So first thing first, make sure you have the journal's name correctly spelled out and the journal initial. So these are the two sections that are mandatory. Journal abbreviation is up to you, like even if you don't feel it, it's okay. But most important, the name and the initial. Make sure they're correct. Now, the other thing that I would like you to take note is that the publisher. Now, a lot of UiTM journals, they are not so sure what to put here. So please, only put UiTM Press. Now, officially, kan, this is not my order. This is university order. Yeah? Any scholarly publication produced by UiTM have to be published by UiTM Press. So you cannot put your faculty's name, you cannot put your Cawangan's name. It has to be only UiTM Press. So in this case, you can put lah a publisher name, or if you want to put the year of the, is up to you. But as long as you put UiTM Press, you're okay. And of course, the ISSN, there are two types. If you look carefully at the bottom, there are two types: offline ISSN and also print ISSN. Now, sorry, it's not offline, online ISSN. So online ISSN, in other name, we call it EISSN. So it's optional. You can have either one, you can have both. If you want to have both, it's up to you. If you have either one, that's also good enough. Yeah. So fill this in. That is compulsory. Okay. But even more important, once you have applied ISSN from Perpustakaan Negara Malaysia, you probably think that, oh, that's the end of the story. But no, not really. Usually, once you finish applying with Perpustakaan Negara Malaysia, you're going to receive a confirmation, a letter acknowledging that you have such and such ISSN, but that is not the end of the story. You will have to check your own ISSN in ISSN portal. So I would like to share with you, yep, after this, ISSN portal that you can go and have a look. So let me share the screen right now. Okay, so can you see the screen with the search list? Now I'm moving to ISSN portal. Okay, good. So this is the portal that is very, very important for all chief editor and managing editor. It's very simple, but you have to make sure that once you have the approval from from Perpustakaan Negara Malaysia, come here and check again your own ISSN. Sometimes you'll be surprised when you check, they say your ISSN is not active, not valid, or for whatever reason. Now, that is unacceptable. You have to ensure that once you have the approval from P&M, it has to be deposited. All your journal data has been saved in this portal. So I'm taking one example. This is the ISSN for SRJ. So as you can see, if you can find the information of that your own journal right here, that means you are safe. Now, reason very simple. Let's say after this, once you have your ISSN and you want to apply in any journal index, the first thing the evaluators are going to do is to check your ISSN. And they don't even have to take long to reject your application because sometimes our ISSN is not even live in this portal. So by all means, check, yeah. So, okay, let's go back to our slide. Miza dah tak share ya. So kalau macam tu saya share lah. Boleh? Saya share slide saya, Miza.
Okay, Doktor.
Okay. So moving on. Okay, OJS increased visibility in Google Scholar. Now, why this is working? Because OJS, the architecture, when they first created, they're already in sync and they have worked together with Google in order to enhance the crawling of their search engine. So this website, when it is open access, all the content actually is made available and it is easy for Google Scholar crawlers to access. And for OJS, they already optimized that one. Now, for whatever the journal articles that you want to publish, you publish in OJS, they will publish under HTML format. And when you want to deposit your full text article in PDF format, make sure that the PDF format is searchable. But I would strongly encourage lah, yeah. If you have any full text, if you can put it in HTML format, by all means do that. Because crawlers work best if the content is saved in HTML format. But that doesn't mean you cannot put in PDF full text. You can still do that. It's just not so discoverable lah, yeah, under Google. Now, once your content is available, it will be also available in Google Scholar. Nowadays, many researchers do their literature review using Google Scholar because it's free and it's easy. You don't have to ask for access. Yeah. And then MyJMS meets the specification and has one plugin to expedite the indexing process. Now, if you have access already to MyJMS, you're going to discover that they have a few features. They call it plugins in the setting. Now, if you manage to have one account, you go to settings and go to website, plugins, and then they have one setting, install Google Scholar indexing plugin. So once you have installed this one, make sure you enable it. So once again, I'm going to bring you to the website that I managed before this one. Okay. Um, Unfortunately, there are some issues with my browser and it switched off suddenly. So I'm going to wait. Anyway, there are some technical issues with my browser. Unfortunately, I cannot show you the MyGMS. Okay, give me a second. I'll reopen. Okay. Now I've already reopened the browser. So can you see Scientific Research Journal? Okay, thank you. So as you can see right there, this is the so-called MyJMS account that I have managed before. So there are a lot of things that I've done on this MyJMS account. So first thing, when you click on this button, I've already signed in. So you can see behind this website, this is what we call the back end of MyGMS. So for first-time user, once you log in, you're going to come into this page and you can see a lot of papers right here. But the first thing, before you even have any submission, go to setting of a journal. So earlier I showed you the names and also the ISSN, make sure they are keyed in correctly. So here it is. Now the second thing, when you want to do a little bit of the plugins, you go to the website setting. Now, as you can see right here, under this part, plugins. Once you click on this one, there are many plugins that you can install. Now, initially, for first-time user, you're going to see majority of these box are unchecked. So some of these I already unchecked, and there is a long list that I don't think I want to go through. However, I'm going to start with one that I touched just now about Google Scholar. So when you browse, kan, you're eventually going to stop at one setting right here. So here it is, Google Scholar Indexing plugin. So I was talking about this plugin. It has been installed, but initially it's unchecked. Once you check this one, Google will be readily sending their crawlers to collect the data from your own MyJMS page. So once you enable this, automatically it becomes very visible. So this is one example, and there are many more that I'm not going to touch. Okay. Now that is because once you have enabled this one, Google Scholar can actually crawl the content. So every time you publish an issue, your content will automatically going to pop up in Google Scholar. So for example, I believe many journals have already set up Google Scholar profile for your own journal. But if you haven't started one, by all means do so. Yeah. Now that is because once you have your own profile of your own journal, you can actually see how your journal perform. Well, internally, this is what you have because our journal is not indexed in Scopus. So this is the best that we can have. And over the years, you can see how your journal perform in terms of citation count. So the moment that you use OJS, the moment I start using OJS, I have seen a marked increase of citation for SRJ. And I still remember 2018 was the year I set up my JMS for SRJ, and the next year you can see a marked increase. While 19 citation probably is not so much, but I believe many other journals also have experienced the same thing. For one simple reason, once you use OJS, Google can search your content and many people can see the content. So that's why the citation increase. So that helps a lot with your journal ranking. Okay, so as you have seen just now on the MyGMS profile that I showed you just now, there are many more that you can discover. So once you have a new account, check every one of them, whether you want to use it or not. But frankly speaking, the first time when I use MyGMS, I check every box. Check every box. As you can see right here, almost every box I check. Because when you look at the other things, and it is also very beneficial for your visibility, the journal's visibility. That includes DOAJ. Now, if you don't know what is DOAJ, just now I think Dr. Roslan already mentioned that DOAJ is an index that any journal can apply as long as you're open access. And that is one way to increase the profile of your own journal as well. So there are many functions that you can use. Okay, MyJMS increases usability. Now the MyJMS has been using version 3 all this while. Before this, if not mistaken, before 2016, MCC they were using version 2. And I believe the entire UKM ecosystem, all the journals in UKM also use version 2. It's a completely different architecture. And I think some of our journals in UiTM back then also use version 2. So by the time they migrate to version 3, the content was not brought forward. So some of the journals, our journals actually lose a bit of articles inside there. Lah. Yeah. So the lesson that we've learned from that event is that journal editors is our responsibility to back up and have all those articles ready all the time. So MyJMS uses version 3, but version 3 is much more user-friendly, and so it offers a lot of function compared to version 2. Okay, so among the features in MyJMS is that mobile device. When you use mobile device and you access MyJMS, you're going to notice that it will automatically resize the page to fit into your mobile device. And that is a plus point, lah. Especially nowadays, people use a lot of mobile device compared to their laptops or desktop. And then the next point is easy manuscript submission process. Now, this process is very similar to the commercial manuscript submission system that I mentioned just now, like Scholar One or Editorial Manager. So it is on par with them. Yeah. Displaying latest articles on homepage. So MyJMS, surprisingly, can also be used as a homepage. So if you started a new journal and you don't have a homepage, you just need to use MyJMS. It can double as website and also submission system. And the best part is when you started a website, you have to pay annual maintenance. I mean, at least 2,000, as far as I know. One website, at least 2,000 per year. So if your journal is not having funding, why not just apply to PSI and they give you MyJMS? That will be your website. Yeah? Okay, number 4, improve accessibility to articles. Fewer clicks to read article full text. Now, this is the other good things that I like about OJS is that it has been optimized. It is built for journal. And with that, most of the time when a reader access a published issue, they don't need to click so many times to access the full text. So probably they're going to see a whole list of articles, and then what they need to do, they click on the name of the article, straight away they go into the dedicated page of your article, and there you have your PDF full text. And not only that, on that same page, you can also easily download the bibliographic reference. So I'm taking you to one example, yeah? Just now we were here. So this is the so-called web page, yeah? This is what normally a reader can see. Scroll down and you can see the current issue that has been published. Now, if you, for example, you click on the name of this article, it'll bring you a dedicated page. So you can see here, the full text is right here. The name of the article is right here. The names of the authors are right here. And plus, You can also download the so-called citation. You can import, yeah, the citation. This is very similar to the citations that you can import from any major publishers. And it goes straight into your reference manager. If you use EndNote, it's right here. If you use RefWorks, it's right here. I mean, they have RIS, they have all sorts of format that you can download. So this is what it should look like from a journal. And the reason why this is so good is that when the reference format is readily available, that also may contribute to the likeliness of your article getting cited. Because this helps, yeah, that helps the citation to be stored and increase the likeliness of being cited. And the last point, at this point, I probably won't be able to discuss so much, is the customizable website design. Now, OJS is very flexible. It's an open source system where if you know a little bit about computing and programming, you can actually customize it. And I actually did some, very minimal. As you can see right here, the side panel on the right-hand side, I managed to put an extra additional menu for other things like ethics policy. And I also put some graphics to attract attention. So all these are linked to whatever the things that they're going to. So these are the things that you can decorate. And I think some of the expert in computing, they managed to put in a lot more than this one. So they are very flexible and you can customize them. Yeah. Now the only issue with MyJMS is that there's not much you can do on that one. I've already tried it. So the most I can do is I managed to add a side panel right here. Yeah, the side panel. I managed to add the bottom, yeah, the end of the, I mean, the bottom of this web page with UiTM logo and whatever logo. You can actually add, you can actually add more logos if you want to. And on top, the so-called headings, yeah, the so-called headings of the journal. I also optimize it. So these are the things like that I managed to do so far. So it is very customizable. And if you are good in programming, that's even better. There's more you can do. So the setting up citation plugin, as you can see right there, go to plugins and install all the metadata and citation plugins. I'm going to bring you again back to this page. So one more time, just now I showed you the plugins for Google Scholar, but essentially there are many more. And I think I'm going to stop with it right here. So remember just now the graphics that I customized is right here, custom block manager. When you checked it, you can explore yourself and make your own custom block. Now this one, I'm going to skip and let you explore yourself. But at the bottom, there's even more. As you can see right here, all kit profile plugin. Enable it so that whoever the authors who have ORCID profile can actually put inside there. And you actually can use a lot more than that. As you can see right here, DOAJ plugins, enable it. So these are the so-called features that you can use uh, with other services, like for example, Crossref. Yeah. Now, Crossref is actually a third party that provide a lot of service, one of which is DOI, Digital Object Identifier. And when you enable this XML export plugin, you can easily transfer whatever the data that you have published into XML format. You send it to me, and I can easily register the content for you, and you get your DOI. And there are so many more things that you can do. Even the pay system you can set up here, even though we don't need one because most of our journal are free, so we don't need that. And you can even generate report if you want to. So these are the features that you can see from MyGMS. Yep. Now, for those who already have your own OJS, you're going to discover even more if you use a latest version. So one more thing that I need to remind you about MyJMS is that their version has not been updated for quite some time, but it's still usable. If you have the latest version of OJS, there are even more features. Okay, so before I start with submission of articles, I would like to stop for a while. If there is any question from the floor, anybody want to ask things about MyGMS before I
Dr.
start
Yong,
with this one? Yes.
Dr. Yong, Suraya
Yes,
here.
yes.
Can I ask you, how
Yes.
do you enable PDF icon when published so that user can download the full paper? I could not enable the icon.
Okay. Now, usually you don't need to enable
PDF.
the icon.
PDF.
Yeah. Usually you don't need to enable the icon. It is automatically there. So perhaps during the next session, the next part of my talk, the submission articles, I can show you
Okay.
how this works. I can show you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Hi Dr. Yong, Asmadia here.
Hi, Dr. Sonia.
Okay. Do this plugin we have it link or enable for the Pablon so that our reviewers can some sort auto generated to the Pablon when they review for our journal.
Okay, now here's the thing that I also wish they have, but they don't. Because Pablon also, they're very smart. Dr. Asmadia, actually Pablon, we recently subscribed to Scholar One. Pablon's Scholar One, they are under the same company, Clarivate Analytics. So what they do is that they don't want OJS to have a direct plug into Pablons. And instead, they have a service for that one. So if a journal would like to have like an automatic plugin, so whatever the reviews done in one journal, if you want to have it automatically transferred to Pablons, they will charge. Yeah, they will charge us. So we don't have a so-called plugin from OJS because Pablons doesn't want it and they forbid it. They charge people to have it transferred to Pablons. But to answer your question, how do we get our reviews into Pablon? It is still possible. We still can do it. Yeah. But we have to do it manually. So after we have finished the review, the editors or the reviewer can take the acknowledgement letter. So every time we finish one review, we will send the reviewers the acknowledgement letter, the thank you letter kan. So either we or the reviewers take this acknowledgement email, send it to Pablons, and they will do it for you also for free. But you have to do it manually lah. That's the only difference.
How do we send it, Doctor? Through email or we can upload it somewhere or how?
Okay, now so far we can send it to they have an email. If not mistaken, it is reviews@pablons.com. If not mistaken, that is the email. So every time I think I can show you lah. Yeah. So the email one, yeah. I will share the email address. In the chat box. Okay. So you can see the email address in the chat box. So that is the one that you need to send to Pablons. So attach the so-called thank you letter or thank you email. to the reviewers, and then you have to know lah the reviewer's profile. Yeah. So attach it together, and there is a team inside Publons that will going to key in all those data for you. You don't have to do it yourself. Just send this email and they'll do it for you.
Okay, thank you.
So is there any more question? If not, then I think I should continue lah, yeah. So I'm going to continue with the next session, which is how to submit an article. So in this part, there are two parts, yeah. Number one, the authors submit themselves, or number two, the journal editor submit on behalf of the author. Now, why this is so is because previously, when I first started giving talks on OJS, there are many journals already started their operation. They just happens to trying out whether MyJMS can be useful. So they have to submit the articles that they already published. So that is a completely different story. However, if you just started a new journal, possibly all these things are done by the authors, not by yourself. Yeah. So here's the thing. Usually papers are submitted by authors, not through editors, because otherwise we're going to have a lot of work to do. Yeah? So these are the information that a journal metadata needs during the manuscript submission. And once again, these information are required and the authors will need to prepare them, not by us. We just wait. Yeah, we just wait. So here, they are made compulsory to give their full name, and they also need to create an account by themselves. So every user in MyJMS need to first create their account. It's very easy. So this account, they will use their own email address, and they're going to fill in their own affiliation. All this information, the authors will going to need to fill when they're creating their account. So once they're done creating the account, then only they can submit a paper. So at this point, we, the editors, don't need to do anything. Okay. So next part is that now, if we are going to submit the articles on behalf of the author, or we want to submit articles from back issue means those are the issues that have been published. You want to put it in MyJMS, you can do it, but it involves a lot of hard work, I have to say. Because imagine if one issue, you have 20 articles, then you have to do it 20 times. Yeah, you have to submit 20 times. And one article, sometimes they have many, many authors. So that adds up to your work, which is why initially when I set up MyJMS for SRJ, I have to admit I did not enjoy doing this part, submitting the articles from that issue. They have a lot of work. But don't worry, if you just started, then the authors were going to do it themselves. Yeah? So first thing first, if you want to do this, the journal manager or the journal editor can create an account for the authors, and you put them as corresponding author co-authors one by one, and you submit the articles as what I've shown you just now. So you need to set up the corresponding author under account. So you go to user and roles and create a new user. So how this is done, when you create a user, this is a form that you can see. And if you yourself is an author, this is the same form that you're going to see as well. So from this point, you can insert your full name, your username, your email address, and you can even create your own password. So this is during the time where you create a profile, you yourself as author, or you as an editor, and submit on behalf of the author. So once this is done, the bottom part of the form is your credentials, so you can fill out other information. If you don't want to fill it, it is not compulsory, so don't worry. If you don't fill your affiliation, it's also no problem, but I would suggest you to fill in your affiliation, because that part, I mean, it brings marks to UiTM if you fill it correctly. Okay,
Excuse me,
so
Dr. Yong.
yes,
Just one question. So for the back issues, what is your suggestion again?
for the back issue, I would say it depends on your decision. If you want to submit your back issue in MyJMS, that also helps a lot in increasing the visibility of your journal. Because if you haven't used MyGMS, most likely the back issue is not visible. So I took the pain when I first managed SRJ, I took the pain and I resubmitted the back issues, and the number of articles that I submitted during that time is around 170. 170 articles of published papers since 2001, if not mistaken. 2001 or 2002. So that long, and it pays off lah. It pays off because many articles that were published years before that were not cited, then they were discovered and they cited later.
So
So
you are helping the authors to register.
yes, yeah. So what I did was I create their profile and then I log in as themselves and then I submit the article for them. But if it's
Okay.
too troublesome for you, it's up to you. You can always start from this year if you want to. Yeah. You don't need to do that lah if you felt you don't have the energy, but I strongly encourage you to do so if you have the resources to do so.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. So you'll be able to create accounts for anybody. In fact, once you create the account from a user, you can actually log in as themselves. And in fact, I just want to show you lah. This is done. Okay, so when I want to create a user profile, I first go into user, and from here you can create as many profile as you want. But like I said, usually when the user want to submit the manuscript, they will come here and they will create their own profile. We don't create profiles for the authors. Now, the good things about this is that when you have a solid profile, you can search virtually anybody. Let's say I want to search for a So you can find their names right here. They have two profiles under different username. So you can see right here, if you want to merge this profile, you can actually merge them later. But I don't want to. I just want to show you how I log in as somebody else. Okay, now you can see right here, the first user right here. Now this user, if you first created, you can actually log in as themselves right here. So once you click log in as, okay, then you can see that the username changed. So as if I am that user. So from here, you can do the submission as if like the real person is doing the submission. Of course, before you do this, you have to get the consent from the user first. So usually the back issue, since they already published, so you probably can do that, yeah, do the submission, go through and fly through all the process, something like that. And once you log out, then you become yourself again. So these are the hard part that I found out earlier when I want to submit back issue, because I need to create the profile. But I don't regret it because why? When I look at the user profile, I have many user in after that ordeal. I will have to say that I didn't regret it because you can see how many users that I have. I have the entire user profile that I can use to appoint reviewers. So every authors that submit a paper to you, they are already have a profile and you can appoint them anytime as your reviewer. So that is a plus point, when you create this profile. Yeah. So coming back on the
Dr. Yong, Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. I don't know whether you will go through this or not later on. How to merge the account if the user have two accounts?
Okay.
Because, okay, for example, I have an editor. She was the author. Last time she was the author. Now I would like to appoint her as one of the editor. But then, since she has the same email, so I cannot create using the same email. So I have to create a different one. But then she wants to merge the account. If you
For
could help
example,
on.
For example, as you can see right here, I also have two accounts right here. One under the old UiTM email and the one is under new UiTM email, but different username. Now you can actually merge this, as you can see right here, merge user, but be careful when you're doing this because when you merge a user, one of the account will be wiped out. So you have to be careful which one that you want to maintain and retain. So this is how you merge a user.
Uh, so that means the author can merge, or I
Yes,
can merge.
the author can merge themselves. You also can do it for the author, but like I said, we probably don't need to do it. You can just ask the author to log in and they can do it themselves. But if you want to do it, yeah, this is how.
Because I tried to merge, but I couldn't because the first account was created by her. The next account I created for her because I need to appoint her as the editor. Uh,
Okay.
okay. There's this
Yeah,
quite
there's
complicated.
some limit. If not mistaken, okay, if not
Mhm,
mistaken, if a user have already changed their password, you cannot log in as themselves. Like for example, the first profile here, Dr. Faiza Yong, she has already changed her username, so I cannot log in as herself. And
mhm,
I cannot also merge on her behalf. If you look at the other profiles like this one,
mhm.
you can do it. So it depends lah, how much the user have already set up their security feature. If they already set up their password, not much we can do lah, I will have to say.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Maybe I can ask her to contact the MC, the what, Pusat Sitasi Malaysia for this.
Usually Pusat won't going to involve as much. They'll ask us to solve it. So if they want to merge lah, yeah, one of the account possibly can be merged lah. So you go back and check if you can
Mm-hmm.
see this button, then
Mm-hmm.
have a discussion with the author and see whether or not they want to proceed. Because like I said, once you merge, one of the profile will going to be wiped out. So have to
Okay.
be careful.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Yong.
So it is question. Then I think I'll just continue. So we're still on creating the user profile. Usually that's not our task. So we only need to do this when we want to submit the legacy issue, pass or publish paper. So these are the forms, as I said. Okay. Now the next part is how do we submit? Wait, I can't see the okay. There's a bar on top that I cannot seems to see clearly what is the subtitle. Okay, by the way, this is what you need to do when you submit to the on behalf of the corresponding author. So submit the metadata, key in all the information, the author's name, email, everything. And then once that is done, then you submit as it is and then log out as the corresponding author. I think this one I already showed you, so I don't need to go to it. Okay, now once the manuscript has been submitted, it will going to land in our to-do list, I would say. Oh, no, it's not to-do list. Then there will be a section when editors log in, there will be a section where the papers are piled up. So depending on which are the section editor, it will go to the correct section editor according to the author's choice. Otherwise, it will go straight to the managing editor or maybe journal manager, the chief editor. Yeah? So you're going to see the submitted articles, and then, of course, we have to start with the editorial process. Yeah. So you will receive a notification. If you set up your journal settings correctly, you are going to receive email from MyGMS notifying you that there is a new paper submitted. Please check and start with your editorial process. So usually that email will have to be sent to the managing editor lah, yeah. So managing editor is the one who going to start the process. So once this is received, then you log in and you're going to check the new papers under the submission stage. And of course, you can start from there. So I would like to take you back to the website where you can see this. So once you log in, editors, once you log in, you can see this is your dashboard, I would say. So this is your dashboard. The first thing that MyJMS will show you is the list of paper submitted. Okay, so depending on who are the section editor, they're going to land here. So I happen to be the section editor picked by the author, so they're going to send me all these papers, so I have to start working from here. If you want to look at all papers submitted to your journal, you can click all active, and you can see the entire list of paper has been submitted. So you may notice that some of the stages, they are very different. Some of them under copy editing, some of them under review, and the latest just submitted, they are in submission stage. So these are the papers that are newly submitted. No action has been taken by the editors just yet. So these are the ones that you can, newly submitted. And of course, start with the editorial process. So from here, I think I'm going to start clicking. And you can see once you click the submission link, you're going to come to a new page. So this is a page where you start with your editorial process. Yeah. So you can see the participants. I already put the chief editor here. So SRJ, the chief editor is Dr. Nashmi. The managing editor is Dr. Malina, and I myself as the section editor. So initially, their names is not here. I added them later. So the only thing that I start seeing is my own name as section editor plus the author's name. Yeah. So all these things are still not added. I added myself. Now, what about the others? Yeah. Now, just now, if you still remember, I told you that we need to, or the authors need to key in the metadata. So the metadata is right here. And this is extremely important because it contains all those key information related to an article, the full text. Yeah. The full text, the title of the journal article, the abstract, and this one, the list of contributor or the authors, we call it. So this was the part that I did not enjoy when I submit for the authors, because some of those papers, they have up to 8 authors. You have to key in one by one. And sometimes they don't even give their email. So you have to really ensure that they have this email. Now, reiterating just now when I think Dr. Tanya asked question to Datuk Roslan just now. Uh, how is your contribution? I think here are the things that they possibly can minimize. I mean, the issues are coming from authorship later. Because when authors submit their article, they were made to fill this part. They are co-authors. So each of these authors know when this manuscript is submitted. Because each of these so-called co-authors, apart from filling their full names, they also need to provide their email address, their roles, whether they are author or translator, and also their who is the corresponding author. Usually the corresponding author will get this tick lah, yeah. And when the author submitted with all this metadata, MyJMS will send a notification to all authors. So everybody knows this paper is submitted by who and then to which journal. So there's no issues lah where there are people claiming that their name is not included in a journal or whatever, because This can be said as the pengakuan lah, yeah, the pengakuan for each journal, for each author when they do the submission. And then later on, the keywords. So these are the keywords that are very important also to ensure that your articles can be discovered based on the field or whatever the areas of research related right here. Yeah. So these will be filled by the authors lah, yeah. Now, we still haven't started with the editorial process just yet. Yeah. So the first thing that I would usually do when I first receive this article is that I will go to appoint the chief editor, add them here. Because when the editors are added here, whenever I proceed with the editorial process, MyJMS we're going to send them notification. So this is the thing that I like about MyGMS is that it is automated. They have a reminder and they also keep all the track record. So let's say if this article, first thing first, just want to ask you, Laya, just now, when you receive an article, what do you do first? Can anybody answer? If you receive a new article, what should you check first of that article? Anybody knows the answer?
Copyright anything check.
Yes, number one, turn it in. That is absolutely correct. It's the same with me as well. So if you can see right here, there are some what they call threads, discussion thread, pre-review discussion. So we haven't even proceed this manuscript for review, but we already have a discussion among all the editors, yeah, the managing editor and chief editor. So this is the cover letter given by Dr. Nur Ain. And usually I will going to start a new thread, yeah. Usually I'm going to start a new thread and add a separate discussion, the decision to review as well. Yeah. So whether or not I want to proceed with this review depends on two things. Okay. Number one, the article have to be original. And like you answered just now, we check the turn it in. Turn it in is a tool to indicate originality. It's by all means not the only thing that we must use to indicate. Some people might ask, what is the similarity index that you want to use? Yeah, I would say it depends. You have to check. You have to check the sections that are causing the high similarity index. If they're very high, why? There must be a reason. If they are due to plagiarism, you copy and paste word by word, you will know it from turning in. So in SRJ, we have a policy. If the similarity index is too high, up to 30% or more, usually we don't proceed for review. Okay. So you can use you use turning in to check it. You can also use our service. RMC also have another service called Authenticate. Yeah. You can send your articles to us, Authenticate, we can check it for you. And from there, you can access and decide whether or not you want to proceed with this article. Because it's not worth it to review if an article is a plagiarized work, you cannot publish at all. No point, yeah, we proceed to review. Okay. So that's number one, originality. Number two is whether or not there is a value in publishing such article. Because of course, we as editor, we want to publish an article that has a very high publishable value. There are papers that would invite citation. So at this stage, I myself as section editor, I'm going to have a discussion with journal editor and journal manager and discuss right here under the pre-review discussion whether or not we would like to proceed with this article. So we are going to evaluate based on the abstract and the title. Okay, if we felt like this article has some value, then only we proceed for review. Okay. So I'm going back to submission and show you a few examples that we have already started review. For example, this article. This one I was appointed as a reviewer, but I cannot go back in. Let's see. Okay, now for articles that has proceed to review. So this is early ones. We will discuss whether or not to review this one. So all this information over here is recorded. And once we're satisfied they want to proceed for review, we'll click this button, send to review. And then when you click this blue button, the system will shift to this stage, review. So under this stage, usually the section editor will have to do the hard work lah, yeah. The section editor will have to appoint reviewers. So this is where you appoint the reviewers and they do the reviewing job. Can the journal manager and journal editor appoint reviewers? The answer is yes. So everybody on top 3 of here can do the reviewing, except for author. Author will just receive the news only. So just now, Dr. Roslan said whether or not you should use the name suggested by authors. To tell you the truth, I not only use the names that they suggested, I actually asked from them. I asked from the authors, can you give me 5 names? 5 names that you want to nominate to review a paper. Usually I'll ask the 5 names because most likely these 5 names were going to respond. But of course, I will also appoint another 5 names, yeah, the reviewer. So these are the examples of the reviewers that have already received invitation, whether they respond or not, whether they submitted or not. And you can actually see their review. Now, because of the confidentiality, I cannot show you the content of the review, but this is as far as I can show you. Yeah. So you can appoint the reviewer just to show you examples how this review going around. So once you click this button, add reviewer, like I said, if you have a big database, like I showed you just now, this is the good thing. You see, you can see the reviews they have done, how many days they have taken. So these are the so-called performance, the performance of every user in your journal in conducting review. Usually I'll just put whoever they have done a good job or whoever that hasn't done the job. This is how it works. You can pick anybody to become your reviewer. So let's say if you want to appoint Siti Rohar to review this article. So once you checked it, go down here and click select reviewer. So this is the email that the reviewer are going to receive as your name. So I ask you, if you don't use OJS or MyJMS and use email, you will need to type word by word. So this is what I like by using MyJMS. Once I selected the reviewer, MyJMS already gave me this is template. And then what I need to do is I just give them the time, how many times that the so-called the staff, this person will need to give me the response. Response is agree or disagree to review. They have to respond within this time frame. Now the next time frame is how much time that I want to give the potential reviewer to finish their review. So these are the time frame. And the good thing about this MyGMS is when they approach this time frame, they're going to send automatic reminder to the potential reviewer. So there are many things that you can do here, and these are the forms that I have set. You can use the template forms. Usually you have to set one if you don't have one, but MyJMS already have templates that you can select readily. And of course, you can also select what type of review that you want to conduct. And I have to remind you, if you haven't selected, please select double blind. Double blind review gives the highest marks in terms of journal evaluation. Yeah. So please pick double blind. Apart from that, once you're satisfied, then click this button, add reviewer. MyJMS will send the invitation email straight away. And your job is done. Once you click add review, then the name will pop up here. As easy as that. So I want to add one more thing, also adding reviewer. Now you notice that once I click add reviewer, they will show me the database, of course. But when you scroll down, you'll realize that there are 2 more ways you can add a reviewer. Create new reviewer. If the person is not yet a user in your journal, you can create one for them under here. But of course, I would like to use another one, this one, enroll existing user. Now, what does that mean? That means you can actually access the user database in the entire MyJMS. Let's say if MyJMS have 100 journals inside and they each have their own database, you can actually access their user database. Now, these are the things that many people don't know. Okay, I'll show you how. So once you click enroll existing user, yeah, same form will going to pop up, exactly the same as just now what I showed you, yeah, with the time frame, the review form, what type of review you want to conduct. But on top of here is a little bit different. Instead of the name fixed, they are not fixed. You can search by name. Let's say if you know somebody in that field who can potentially review this journal. I type one generic name, let's say Ahmad. It will have a drop-down box and you can select whatever the user already have an account in MyJMS, and you can select if you know who they are, then only you select them. Because the drawback of this one is you have to know this person before you appoint them. But if you know that they have a profile already, you don't need to create for them. You just come to this one, and these are the users already registered their user profile in the entire MyJMS. So this is what I like. So once you click that one, same thing. Once you click this, just click add reviewer and the same thing goes. System will send them email, and then they're going to receive the invitation where they'll respond later. So this is as easy as that, okay, appointing reviewer. Okay, now I think I've already abandoned my slide earlier and come straight to this thing. But I just want to ask all of you, is there any question regarding how to appoint reviewers? Any questions so far? Appointing reviewers? Still have half an hour to do.
Dr. Yong, one question, just back a few steps backward. Just now you say when we do a back submission or those legacy or even submit for author, do we need to create users for all corresponding authors or all co-authors? Or can I just take one corresponding corresponding authors or the main author only? Can we do that?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you felt like you're running short of time, you can do it. You can actually, yeah, you can actually do the submission. If let's say legacy issue, they already published, no review is needed, right? So once you submit it right here, you don't even need to add author. If you choose want to enhance your database, you can easily submit your paper, click straight, send to copy editing. Now this will going to skip the entire review process and go straight to copy editing. Once you click this button, instead of landing in the review stage, it will go straight to copy editing, where you don't even need to do copy editing. What you need to do once you reach this here, you will going to have the draft file, and you click send to production, and that's the end of story. I'll come here in a bit, yeah. So to answer your question, you don't need to add authors if you don't want to, but you have to have a good reason lah. For example, the paper has been published, so you go straight to production, straight away publish. No need to go through all this tedious process.
Second question, Dr. Yong, when authors submit their paper, it will be with their author's name and the list of all the authors. So when we submit to the reviewer, will the system delete all this name, or we have to do it manually?
You mean the author's name affiliation in the manuscript, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Now, before we the editors send invitation to reviewers to review something, first thing that we need to mention after we finish checking the similarity index and we decided to start the reviewing process, we, the editors, need to ensure that the full text does not carry any signature of the author, because only that you can ensure that it is double blind. And in fact, when authors submitted their articles, they'll have to make a declaration that the full text manuscript that they submitted have been removed of their name, their affiliation, or any signature that might give indication that the paper is theirs. They have to sign it. But this system still cannot automatically remove their names. So either the authors remove it, or we, the editors, once we finish the checking of similarity index before we send for review, we have to remove their name.
So that means it's still a manual work lah. You got to download it, remove it, upload for them again, and then in the system. Because 9, I'll say 10 out of 10 so far I received, everybody will put their name, long list of authors in their paper.
Yeah, well, I would say the removing is not really that difficult. Because number one, I will go to the first page where they have their list of name and affiliation, delete that part. Second thing, go to acknowledgement, delete the entire acknowledgement, and then finally save that file and delete the signature in the file as well. Sometimes when you save the Microsoft Word, you can still find the author's name when they change it, the author's name. That also we have to remove, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still manual work on that part lah. Just the question I'm asking.
Unfortunately, at this moment, no software can automatically remove their name.
Even in Google's the Scholar one, it's the same system that we got to remove it manually.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the moment, yes. At the moment, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that is why major publishers like Elsevier, Scholar One, they also don't do double blind review. They're a single blind review. That means the reviewer know who the authors are. Right? Most of the journals, they know who the authors are, but the authors don't know who the reviews are. So this is what we call single blind. Double blind, it's quite difficult to do. We have to manually remove the names.
Yeah. That's what we have been doing. Thanks.
So still on reviewing, any question? Not, then I think I will just go straight to the ones after review. Oh, by the way, once you finish one review, you can have a second round review if you want to, but usually that's not needed lah. Usually what we practice is once we finish the first round review, we'll assess the report, okay, the content of the revised manuscript, then the editors were going to decide whether or not to publish article. Some journals, once they finish a first round review, they're going to resend the revised manuscript back to the same reviewer again. But of course, that will going to drag even longer, right? The reviewing process. So that's why we in SRJ we decide straight away. And actually you can do that. So I'm going to go back to submission and show you a few examples like that. The authors have submitted revised manuscript. Usually the station. So I'm bringing back to the reviewing process, and as you can see right here, the reviewing process has been completed. So how do we make the decision? Now this one, sometimes one good review is better than many that are like doing surface review. One good review means they give you all the detailed comments, step by step, section by section. So these are the good reviews that we're looking after. But we cannot run away. Some reviewers, they just do some formatting review. So these are the ones that we possibly don't require. We want the content review, not the format review, actually. So some of them decline. We cannot say anything because after all, this is voluntary work if they decline, so we cannot blame them. But it's good lah when they respond. So the more they respond, the better lah for us to have a decision. So once we have the decision, then we have to revert. Yeah, we have to revert and make a decision to the author. So once we receive enough reviews comments, so here is what you need to decide. If most of the reviewers decided to reject, then the red button is what you need to click. But usually we give chance to authors to make revision, and then only we decide whether the revision is still adequate, to address all the issues. So usually we are going to click these two buttons. request revision or resubmit for review. But to me, these two buttons make no difference. They're more or less the same because they're just returning the manuscript with the reviewer's comment and asking the authors to do revision. It's more or less the same actually. Yeah. So I'm going to show you one example of the feedbacks we give to the author. And one more beauty thing about MyJMS is they collect all the records automatically. So where you can see those records right here, editorial history. So click here, everything is inside here. It's logged automatically. So in terms of transparency, nothing can be more transparent than this whole list right here. So let's see, editorial decision. I'm the one who sent this editorial decision. So let's see. Now you can actually see the original email sent to the authors, yeah, once you make a decision. So here is the decision. We don't accept the paper right away, even though we can, because there are like many corrections required. So we give them this decision. And in the same email, you can actually attach the reviewer's comment. What are the comments and the score that the reviewers has given? So it's very extensive. More reviews, the better. And they even give the specific comment right here. So these are the comments that we want to receive from the reviewer. The content review, not the format review. So you can see here from table, from page, very detailed. So we also receive others that are not as much, but it's still acceptable. So you can see the quality of review. I can say, I can even make a decision even with one review from reviewer A, because of the extensiveness of the review. So once I have decided, it will be recorded right here. So I click request revision and I'll just wait. Yeah, I'll just wait for the revision, and then the authors resend the revision and will land right here. So when we want to decide whether to accept or reject this article, we're going to evaluate based on the revisions. So usually we're going to receive two files. Number one is the revised manuscript, and the other one is the list of the list of comments, the list of revisions that the author has conducted. So yeah, when you want to do a revision card, I have to say most of the authors that I received, they only give us the revised manuscript, nothing at all. That is not a good practice. Yeah. Usually there are two files. One, the revised manuscript. The other one is the list, so that we can trace, we can track which are the parts that we need to focus on and which are not. Yeah. So this is good practice. So once we have this one, we are satisfied with the revision, then we have to make a decision, guys. And before we even make a decision, we also discuss once again. So I discussed with Dr. Nashmi, the chief editor. Is this good enough? If she say yes, then only I proceed. Because why? I am just a section editor. I cannot make decision. So remember, editors, only chief editors can make a decision to accept or reject. Section editor can recommend only. So make sure you don't langkau lah your bidang kuasa kan. So usually I don't click this button. I will ask Dr. Nashmi as chief editor to come in. Okay, Dr. Nashmi, if you accept, then the blue button, yeah, the blue button is send to copy editing. So that means it's accepted. No revision is required. So you click this button, then it goes straight to the next stage right here. Yeah. But if the revision is not adequate, still not good enough, then unfortunately we have to decline. So remember, your editors, we only publish the articles that reaches the standard of a journal. Now, most of the manuscript that we receive, they may come from students, maybe FYP students. I cannot say FYP students, the quality is not good. Some of them are really good and can be published. But you have to beware. Do not publish articles that are not on par, I mean, in terms of standard, because that would be very damaging in terms of our reputation. Yeah? So okay, only accept good articles when when you click the blue button, that means you accept, and the decision. So once again, I'll let you see the decision. So earlier I said the earlier decision is to ask for revision. Now the next decision is to accept. Yeah, right here. Dr. Najmi is the one who accepted this article. So this email comes from Dr. Najmi lah, yeah. The decision, what is it? Accepted this article for September 2021 issue. So this will be published in this issue, and then that is a decision email. Yeah. So remember, yeah, chief editor sent out, not me. Yeah, I'm only the section editor. So once that is done, then the authors will be like very happy lah. This is an acceptance letter, yeah. Not yet published, but the job is not done. Next part is the copy editing. Now, when you reaches copy editing and production stage, that is no longer the responsibility of editorial board. Editorial board, the job is to review the content, yeah, peer review, run the peer review. After that, then it goes to the production team. So not many journals, they realize that they need to have two teams, yeah, because managing editor and chief editor cannot do this part of the job. This one requires a lot of technical things and a lot of details that you need to look at. So which is why tomorrow, Miza will going to give you a special talk lah, on how to copy edit. Yeah. Frankly speaking, in SRJ, chief editor and managing editor, we try not to get involved in this one. Otherwise, we don't have time for other things. Copy editing is very heavy job. Yeah. But the good news is, previously, SRJ is part under RMC. We have manpower. So last time Miza was the one lah who do all the copy editing job. So she's the one who do the typesetting, the language check, where usually it's us also lah who do the language check. So this is what we try to make the layout of the manuscript as perfect as possible. We cannot say the articles are error-free. No, not exactly. So that is why we have to pick up the pieces. If there's a language spelling error, we have to correct it. Those are usually the responsibility of language editor lah, yeah. Whereas Miza as copy editor, she will going to check the quality of the graphics, whether or not they are copyright. That's another issue. Tomorrow she'll talk about it. And also the accuracy of the references, whether or not they follow the format required by SRG. So you see, a lot of work. Right? That is why I can say copy editors is the unsung hero like in journal publication, which at the moment receive not that much of recognition just yet. So when I accept an article, it will come to copy editing stage, and then Riza, we're going to take it over from here. So from here, I add also Riza's name and also my other staff, Shaida. So they were the copy editors for SRJ. So they're going to take this file, take it outside of MyJMS and do their copy editing. Once they finish their copy editing work, they're going to resubmit again, supposedly under here, but they did not. They submit in the next stage. Okay, now, before I go to the production stage, is there any question regarding copy editing? Anybody want to ask question about copy editing here, this stage? Okay. If not, then I think I will just continue with the next one. So this is the last stage, yeah? Before we publish, this is the last thing. And I think this one is related to the earlier question regarding the PDF, whether or not we can access it. Okay, now this is a trick, yeah? Okay. Now, once, okay, from copy editing stage, once the article has been completely typeset, so you have the full text article, not yet published, the copy editors will need to upload the files here, copy edited. So this file looks exactly like the full text article that you're about to publish. Perhaps minus the DOI, maybe minus the page number, because you still don't know what is the page number, right? But the content is exactly that. So the copy editors will need to upload here and then press send to production. So again, who can press this blue button? Anybody within this participant except the author. So anybody like even the copy editors can press it. So once you press this button, it will move on to the production stage right here. So this manuscript still haven't been finished yet. It's still not finished yet, the copy editing process. So nothing is here. Let me show you one that has been published. Probably you have a better idea how it looks like. And I think at this stage, nothing is reaches that stage. But many of them for published articles, usually they sit right here on the archive. So I'm going to publish article. These are the old ones. These are the legacy papers that I did not put too much of information. Let me show you again. The published articles from the latest issue. Okay. Maybe this one. Right then. Now, once we reaches this public production stage, that means the paper is just waiting for publication. Now, who is responsible here? The chief editor. We're going to be very responsible right here. Now, before we want to publish one article, the chief editor will have to make sure that the issue has been scheduled. Yeah. So before we publish any issue, we have to make sure that we have the issue projected right here. So how do we create an issue? Going to the left-hand side, you can see future issue and back issue. Back issues are those for published issue. Future issue is where you want to create one. Yeah. So you click this button, you can see there's one future issue waiting right here. So who can create this one? Journal editor or journal manager. And you can actually create one from here. Any issues that you want to create. Yeah. So just want to show you how do we create one. Once you click this thing, you can key in the volume number and also the issue number right here. Now here's a guide. Too many times I've seen journal editors, they misunderstood how to assign this volume. Now volume is given usually to a year. Let's say if there are 2 issues per year, so we're going to put number 1, number 2, 2 issues per year. And then for the entire year, we use the same volume number. Use the same volume number, and you can assign which year is that. If you don't want to put issue number, you also can. You can just use just volume. Every volume, different number, also can. Yeah. Now, there's one more thing that I want to remind you. Under this one, the issue, sometimes you might ask, what about special issue? Do I type special here? My advice is please don't lah. Because this space usually is reserved for numbers. So you better off put numbers here. So once you put down numbers, then perhaps the description you can put down here. Description, special issue from what conference. Yeah. So do not put S, do not type special, because after this you run into trouble when you want to generate DOI. Yeah. Then of course the title, we usually put the title of the journal, SRJ. Yeah. And then if you want to put cover page, up to you. You also can put it in. But I don't put it in because once you put the cover page, it will be very cumbersome. People need to scroll down, quite a lot to view, other issues. So I don't put a cover page in. So once you've done that, click save, then you have a future issue right here. So this future issue still have no articles because we don't have any articles put in there just yet. But you have to create this one first before you publish anything. So coming back to this here, to this production stage. Now, once we have all the articles agreed upon, all copy edited, all typeset, everything is correct, then we upload, we upload the PDF right here. You can add gaily. Now, very important, if you don't add gaily right here, your full text article will not be visible in MyJMS. So you have to add here. You don't need to add anything, but you have to add gaily. So just to show you, once you add gaily, You can label here PDF files or HTML, but usually it's a PDF, yeah, because most of the full text that we produce today is in PDF format. So you can put that. And then you can have the option of depositing that PDF in MyJMS server, or you can put a link. So if you deposit your full text in a dedicated server, you will need to uh, open up the sharing so that anybody can access the full text. So you have to make it public. Click this, check this box. This daily will be available in separate website, and paste. So you can see previously I have pasted so many links from Google Drive. So yeah, SRJ deposit full text articles in Google Drive only. So that is our server. We deposit our paper in Google Drive, share the link right here, and that's it. And it will be accessible to anybody in the world. Now, the reason why I encourage you to deposit paper in Google Drive is that there was a very expensive lesson that we learned before. Previously, there are many of our journal uses OJS2. They deposit full text in the server. And when they switch to OJS3, all those records were made unavailable. So during that time, many of our journals, they lost all their full text. Because of that event, I strongly recommend you to deposit your paper in Google Drive. So far, we haven't here Google Drive switch off and lost all your files. We haven't. So it's quite safe lah, your files in Google Drive. You share the link right here, and that's it. Yeah, you will have your full text. So once you have done this, and then you automatically have a PDF right here. So this will be visible and accessible later on. And then to cap things off, if you want to publish this article, finally click this blue button, schedule for publication. So once you click this, you still have to make a few settings now. Now, most of the articles when they publish, you have to direct which issue that you want to publish. Now, this is the one that I created earlier. So you can pick future issue, then you publish in this issue, or you can have several more just for you to have a better management, like how many papers you want to publish in each issue. So you can arrange. Um, the question whether or not you can publish in that issue, that is not logical. Usually you publish in future issue. Yeah? Now you can even publish in current issue if you want. Now that is if you don't have a fixed date. You can have a fixed date of publication. That means whenever you receive a paper and you publish it, you slowly accumulate. So you can do that. You can even do that. But of course, when you do that, you possibly don't have a page number just yet. So that's why page number here is optional. You can fill in. If you don't want to, it's okay. Publish date is very important. Yeah. And then lastly is this one. Now, a lot of people don't understand how open access works. So you put here copyright UiTM Press. Now, I just learned this recently. If your journal is open access and there is an issue regarding the licensing, because essentially when we publish open access journal, the articles, the author retain their rights, their copyright to the article, which is why the box right here, copyright holder, I put author. Author retains their copyright. So a lot of us we put UiTM Press, right? I think this one you have to deliberate lah, yeah. Whether or not you want to put your UiTM Press, because it's illogical when you publish open access journal, you still retain their right. This is not so correct. Yeah. So that's why I put author, the year of the copyright, and also the license. Yeah. So this is license that I usually choose. There are many type. You can discover yourself which one that suits you the most. So once you've done this, then click save, and then that is the end. You will have articles queued under the publication. All right. Now, so far, is there any question regarding publication? The production stage. Okay, if not, then I think I will move on to the last part lah. Yeah? So after you go through all the review process, all the copy editing process, you queue for publication, but the articles is still not visible until you publish the issue. So once again, we go back to future issue. So once you publish that paper, it will join into the count. So items will become number one if you publish lah just now. And slowly, when you accumulate enough articles, let's say 10 articles, then you can actually do some final preview. You can preview first. Yeah? Just like you do the back issue. So you can actually view. Yeah? You can actually view. They're still not published yet, but you can see the content. So this is how it looks like if you do publish. You can access the PDF. You can see a lot of things. Now, by all means, before we publish, make sure you check. Because sometimes, due to some errors done by authors, their names is not here. Their names are not completely here. So if you cannot see their names, then you have to go back and check. Don't publish straight away. Always check before you publish. So check and ensure that their names is correct, their full name is there, all the authors are there. So once you're satisfied, come back and press this button, publish. So be careful because you have to make sure that everything is perfect, then only you press this button. Because when you press this button, the whole world can see your publication. So it's not good if you press this button with a few here and there mistakes. And once again, who can press this button? Chief editor. Yeah. The chief editor have to make sure check everything. After finish, then they press this button. So once they press this button, then it finished the job. So once you press that button, then it will pop up right here, current issue, everything. So Dr. Nashmi and Dr. Nashmi, Dr. Amelina and myself, we were usually the ones who do all the final checking. We check, everything is done. Then only we press the publish button. So everything is correct. Okay. So I think we're running out of time, and I think I will skip a lot of parts because actually, apart from giving you the process of using OJS, I was supposed to teach you DOI. But because of the time factor, I think I'll skip this one and I'll show you the video instead. Later on, I'll share in UiTM WhatsApp group how do you generate DOI XML and how do you register DOI. Yeah. So for the time being, okay, we still have around 5 minutes before we end this session. Any questions?
Hello, Dr. Yong. Sorry to interrupt. Dr. Yong, Ila here from Segamat, Johor. Doktor, I nak tanya, okay, bila section editor, okay, let's say dia notify acceptance lah, ataupun dia cadangkan untuk acceptance lah paper tu. So, setahu saya, bila kita notify author, dia akan pergi ke email inbox, betul? So, kalau ini I tak tahu pada orang lain, tapi in my case, the author tu dia boleh tahu kita sebagai dia punya section editor. I mean, di inbox kita, email tu, inbox dia pun, dia akan keluar kita punya nama tu. So, adakah benda ni normal, Dr. Yong? Ataupun perlu tak sebab kita register pakai kita punya email ID tu kan, ataupun ada cara lain untuk cover kita punya identity lah. So how is it?
Okay, macam ni. So setiap kali kita dah buat decision, like for example daripada sini review, saya klik lah button ni. Kalau tak saya, Dr. Nashmi yang klik. Saya dah tak ingat paper mana yang saya buat decision, tapi dengan kebenaran daripada Dr. Nashmi sebagai chief editor, dan dia punya decision email tu akan bawa nama saya. So contohnya saya bawa balik kepada decision email yang tadi. So setiap kali saya tekan decision tu, email ni lah yang akan dihantar. So di mana nama saya keluar di sini. So nama sebab saya tekan. Saya yang buat decision tu untuk minta revision. So nama saya akan keluarlah bawah sini. Tapi kalau Dr. Najmi yang tekan blue button tu, nama dia pula yang akan keluar. So dalam mana-mana email keputusan sesuatu perwasitan tu bila dihantar, sebenarnya wajib tau kena letak penama surat tersebut. So berbalik pada soalan Dr. Ila tadi tu, boleh tak you cover? Sebenarnya boleh. Sebab setiap kali bila kita tekan decision tu, so contohnya lah saya tekan tu ni, send to Eva request revision. So bila saya tekan ni, dia akan tunjuk saya, ni draft dia. So macam mana? So kalau kita nak cover nama kita, so buanglah, delete semua ni. Boleh buang. So sebelum hantar tu, you boleh check dan buang nama ni. So checklah kandungan dia, kod-kod ada bahagian yang Dr. Ila tak nak author tahu. So inilah dia. You boleh edit, you boleh tambah, boleh type lagi kalau nak. Okay, adakah tu menjawab soalan Dr. Ila?
Okay, thank you Dr. Yong. Cuma one more thing. Bila dia hantar tu, dia akan hantar from our email kan? Maksudnya MyJMS tu dia akan hantar daripada kita punya email. Is it true or not? So,
Sebenarnya
the receiver tu boleh
uh,
tahu juga kan ke macam mana Dr. Yong?
sebenarnya email ni dia akan ialah berbalik pada kita kan. Dia akan tahu juga daripada email mana yang dia hantar. So itulah sebabnya saya selalu akan minta Dr. Najmi untuk hantar email tu. Tapi sebenarnya tak jadi masalah kalau author tahu itu yang hantar sebab yang penting sekarang ni the anonymity, kerahsiaan peribadi itu lebih penting pada peringkat perwasitan, peer review. So bila kita hantar keputusan tu, saya tak rasa itu menjadi masalah kalau author tahu kita yang hantar keputusan tu. Sebab itu memang hak editor untuk buat mana-mana keputusan. Tapi kalau disebabkan ada sebab-sebab kerahsiaan, then maybe Dr. Ila boleh gunakan another profile daripada nama sendiri. Sebab kalau kita yang klik, dia akan hantar email. Dia akan hantar email, so contohnya lah sini, the decision daripada Dr. Hashmi tu. Dia akan hantar email seolah-olah email tu datang daripada email ni. Tapi sebenarnya tak. Kami tak gunakan email UiTM. Tapi sebab kami daftar profile tu menggunakan email UiTM, MyJMS akan hantar email dan dia akan paparkan email ni. So betul lah. Authors akan tahulah siapa yang hantar keluar email ni sebab MyJMS dia akan tayanglah benda ni.
Dr. Yong, is it possible we create a special email for this, like my journal currently we have matchcafe@gmail.com, accepted paper, and so we have different email that when we send out, they will still go back to one email lah. They won't go to my personal email or UiTM email and so on. Is it possible for the same thing for JMS here?
Yes, that is possible. How do I say? Because I realized that some UiTM journals, they created and they applied for a dedicated email for the journal. So I think that is a good practice as well, because anybody can use that anonymously to send out decision. Once again, practices, the usual practices of sending decision email. Those decision email will have to come from the chief editor usually. But of course, you can do that through the journal email with secretariats, general secretaries edit without revealing who sent out this email. You can do that. But you have to create a profile. So you create an email for that journal, not using personal email, using a very generic email, and you register a generic profile. I think I can show you because I also do the same. I also do the same for SRJ. So how I did it, Yeah, so you can see here, I also happen to create one profile here using SRJ UiTM Gmail as well. So if you felt like you have to make a decision anonymously, so you can create a user profile like this. Every time you make a decision, then you have to add this user, add this user as part of the editorial process. Then only you can do that. Yes, you can. So it's already 1 o'clock. Do we have any more questions? I think now we can only entertain questions only lah, yeah. Any more questions before we adjourn for lunchtime? Dah pukul 1 dah. Ada apa-apa
Ada,
soalan tak?
Doktor ada dua soalan di ruangan chat box dari Dr. Juliana. Soalan yang pertama adalah, what is the difference between revisions required and resubmit for review and decline submission and see comment? Soalan yang kedua, there is one option. There is one option which is file to be reviewed before we select review type. What is the function?
So, I jawab soalan pertama dahulu kot. Sekejap lah, saya ambil satu contoh daripada archive. Kita dah publish type of review and decision kan. So the first question yang tanya, apakah perbezaan request for review, request revisions, resubmit for review. Lagi apa tadi? Selain dua-dua ni ada lagi ke yang dia sebut?
Resubmit for review, decline submission, and see comment tu je.
Oh, okay. Sebenarnya request revision dengan resubmit for review ni pada saya macam tak ada sangat perbezaan. Cuma mungkin perbezaan dia di sini lah ya. Request revision ni seolah-olah macam minor revision. Seolah-olah. Manakala untuk resubmit for review tu macam major revision. Ini macam tu lah. Because kalau kita tengok dia punya decision tu, saya tak boleh masuk. Dia ada pelbagai decision tau. Dan decision of reviewer tu adalah selari dengan decision yang kita ada di sini. So apa yang saya boleh jawab lah, okay? Request revision tu seolah-olah macam minor revision. Resubmit for review adalah major revision. Manakala decline tu adalah reject. Decline submission tu adalah reject. Yeah. So kalau
Maksudnya Dr. Yong, request revision tu bukan kita buat request kepada author ya. Request revision ni kepada reviewer ya. Is it?
No. Request revision ni kita buat kepada author. Kita minta author untuk buat revision. Okay. Tapi kalau kita tekan kedua-dua button kelabu ni tak bermaksud kita accept. Ya. Kita tak accept. Button biru ni saja membawa maksud accept. Di accept, tengoklah masih ada revision ke. Tapi yang atas ni adalah requesting revision. Sama ada di minor ataupun major saja. Itu beza dia. Okay. Lagi soalan kedua tu macam mana? Soalan kedua tu. Saya boleh ulang ke soalan yang kedua tu? Oh ya. Okay, sini kan. Decline submission and see comment. Okay, see comment tu saya tak pernah guna. See comment decision tu saya tak pernah guna dan dia macam seolah-olah tak ada decision. So saya tak selalu guna. Tapi ada kalanya maybe you boleh guna the decision of see comment tu sort of like macam open decision. Sometimes maybe kita macam malu sangat nak buat decision untuk reject tu. Kita tak sampai hati nak tekan red button nak reject tu. You see comment. Tapi selalunya itu tak membawa bermaksud lah. So selalunya kami tak pakai. Kami akan pakai reject, decline submission, and then send for copy edit ataupun request revision saja. Selalunya see comment tu kami tak pakai that decision. Okay, I think saya terlupa apa dia soalan tu. Okay, there's another question. DOI untuk backdated articles. Kita biarkan as link sahaja sebab artikel dah publish. Tak juga. Sebab kalau kita biarkan dia as link dan dia broken, dia nampak tak bagus lah. So, kalau dah ada link DOI tu, just daftar saja. Dia adalah free. Okey, untuk makluman semua jurnal kan, pendaftaran DOI untuk semua jurnal UiTM berdaftar adalah percuma. So, kalau dah ada link tu dan daftar aja, tak ada cost pun. Sebab kalau dia broken kan, dia kurang markah tau bila kita nak minta index nanti. Okay, so kalau tak ada apa-apa soalan, I think kita dah lajak masa lah Miza. So ada soalan lagi? Kalau tak ada, saya rasa kita di sini saja kot.
So far tak ada soalan dah dekat ruangan chat box. Okay, Ribuan terima kasih. Ya.
I think saya tamat di sini sajalah. Ya, so Miza, carry on.
Okay, terima kasih diucapkan kepada Dr. Yong atas perkongsian sebentar tadi. Semoga perkongsian tadi memberikan manfaat dan dapat dipraktikkan oleh para peserta. Mohon para hadirin untuk on camera bagi sesi bergambar. Okay, semua dah sedia ke? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, para hadirin, macam yang Dr. Yong cakap tadi, kita dah terlajak masa. Jadi kita akan berhenti rehat seketika untuk beri laluan untuk solat Zuhur dan makan tengah hari. Kita akan berjumpa semula tepat pada jam petang. Tepat pada jam 2 petang dalam link Webex yang sama.